In December 2008 in Liverpool, an 18-year-old youth, Sean Mercer, was sentenced to 22 years for the murder of Rhys Jones. I spent the summer in the city in search of the young gang said to be wreaking havoc on Merseyside, and in particular, the two groups whose conflict lies behind the tragic murder of Rhys.
So what would happen now if someone from Croxteth walked in here?
I'd chop him around, chop his head off.
What happens if one of them comes across the border, as it were?
Get dealt with something.
They get dealt with?
Yeah.
Liverpool is one of Britain's most important cities. It's a coastal port and it's famous for its people's warmth and sense of humour. It's also become one of Britain's cultural jewels. But last August, when an 11-year-old boy was shot dead in one of the city's suburbs, it highlighted another part of Liverpool. I've come here to see whether this, one of Britain's proudest cities, deserves its reputation for gang violence.
News. How could this happen? That's the question coming from Croxteth this morning.
It's a normal estate and it's been rocked tonight by this absolutely devastating, catastrophic event. They're just scum.
I just think it's bad that a young lad can be shot in the head and killed over something that is not related to him. It's all to do with gangs.
This is the Fir Tree pub Croxteth, and these grainy images from August 2007 show Sean Mercer circled in red, firing a gun at a rival gang member. 3 shots were fired, and none hit their intended target. The second ricocheted and fatally wounded Rhys Jones as he crossed the pub car park. One of the city's deadliest gang rivalries had claimed an innocent victim. In the north of the city lie the neighbouring suburbs of Norris Green and Croxteth. They're united by a postcode, Liverpool 11, and divided by a single main road. But the intensity of the gang rivalry that splits the two areas has reached murderous proportions. This is the Oaks pub, Norris Green. It's about a mile or so away from where Rhys was killed. It used to be called the Royal Oak, and in the early hours of January 1st, 2004, it became part of Liverpool's gang folklore. A New Year's Eve party was winding down when a masked man entered the pub. Coming into the function room, he walked over to where 19-year-old Danny McDonald was sitting. He produced a gun and he shot him in the head. While punters dived for cover, Danny managed to stagger over to the door before collapsing dead. No one was ever charged with his murder. As far as the press was concerned, the death of Danny McDonald, identified as part of Croxteth's Crocky crew, had all the hallmarks of a gang hit. Fast forward now to August 2006. Liam Smith is visiting a friend in Alt Course Prison.
He gets into an altercation with a rival. As he leaves, this man is overheard saying to another inmate, quick, give us the phone, I'll get the lads to pop them. Minutes later, a convoy leaves Croxteth and comes along this road. As Smith leaves the visiting centre, a gunman comes out of the bushes and shoots him in the face with a sawn-off shotgun.
In Norris Green, the dead youth known locally as Smigger was hailed by some as a soldier, a casualty of a bitter local gang war between his Strand crew and the Crocky crew. 3 men are serving long prison terms for the murder. Although the vast majority of the people who live here are ordinary, hard-working families, parts of Liverpool 11 were devastated by drugs in the 1980s and 90s and suffer high rates of unemployment today. Chris Neal is a photojournalist and gang expert who knows the area well.
I've been seeing gun crime all over the UK for 20 years, and Liverpool 11, I've not seen anything geography-wise like it. It's got its 2 factions straight on, yeah. It's got its 2 factions, Nogg's Crocky crew.
So Nox's is Norris Green, Crocky crew is Croxteth.
Yeah, indeed, yeah. They're both, I think jointly, the 2 gangs have got about 50 gang members in, 25 in each, somewhere thereabout.
Why are they at each other's throats?
It's a very good question. I just don't see what the reason is here. I don't see what the end is. There's no major drugs battle here.
Because that is a normal reason for violence between communities, yeah?
Absolutely. And we're going down into Croxteth now and go past the school that they all went to, you know what I mean? It's amazing. You've got 40, 50 kids all bordering on gang warfare that grew up as children together. One thing that they have in common, other than the fact that they're extremely violent and they wear the same clothes, is they have a strict code of silence. Both factions, they will not grass on each other.
In part 2, I meet one of the underworld's most feared figures, a man known simply as the Devil.
Liverpool, I ain't got ya. Yeah. It's cold. Yo, it's the city where the Beatles born.
I'd only been in Liverpool just a few days on my quest to meet the youth gangs of the city when I got my first break.
We've just received a phone call. Some members of the gang in Norris Green have agreed to meet us at a secret location, and apparently they're bringing along some of the weapons they use on the streets.
I'm not religious, but the city's my Jerusalem. We broke up, now I'm back, she's my lover again. I'll never love another again, she's my soul and my friend. The capital of culture, but she's built by slaves. That one pushed them, we're gonna go back.
First of all, can I say thank you for coming to talk to us. You are from Norris Green, is that correct?
Yeah.
So you went to school in that area, yeah?
Yeah.
So you were members of a gang while you were still at school?
Mm-hmm.
Well, there must have been people from Croxteth at that school as well, weren't there?
Yeah.
So did you fight with them in the playground?
No, do you know what it sounds like, but not all the time.
So what would happen now if someone from Croxteth walked in here?
I'd chop his head off. And then I'd still carry on stabbing him even though his head went on his fucking neck.
But this feud that's going on, it isn't really about control of, say, a drugs trade, is it there? There's not that much money being made out of drugs in that area.
No, it's a street,
There was some time ago.
Yeah, there was at sometimes. That started on and on.
Can you give me a reason for it dying down?
We've all been nicked, or shot.
People have been nicked, so the police...
Or shot, yeah.
Or shot. Have any of you ever been shot at?
Yeah.
How many times can you remember?
Few. I've been hit with one once as well.
Really?
Top of my leg.
What hit you?
I don't know, it was just a handgun, you know, I don't even know what it was.
Was it a pistol or was it...
Yeah, pistol.
9mm or something?
Yeah, I think it was. It broke my leg, I saw it, bone. Broke my leg.
That hatred seems to run so strongly through you, but I can't really hear a justified reason for it.
Gangs, you know, that's what it is. It's gangs, two fucking different gangs, they both argue, you know what I mean? It's fucking like that everywhere in the world, innit, I'll be honest. The 2 gangs are always fighting.
And you don't see any end to it?
There won't be an end unless everyone fucking dies, is it really?
What did you think about the shooting of Rhys Jones?
Bad, horrible. Sick man, innit? He needs killing himself, the lad who's done it.
But wouldn't you say you're sitting by double standards if you go out and shoot people as well, lads?
No, we don't do it like that. No, I was with little kids playing.
Go up and do it face to face.
So if you wanted to get a gun, how would you go about getting one?
Phone someone,
Get dropped off. Or one pick it up.
And how long would that take?
5 minutes. Yeah, 5 minutes. Just that.
What would happen if one of you actually met a girl and she was from Croxteth? Would you be able to go out with her if you fancied her?
Probably.
Could like, but it'd be dodgy. You know what I mean? Couldn't trust her, could you?
Could you be slipping into their neighbourhood to see her? Does it happen?
That's happened.
Yeah, that's happened a few times. Been loads of setups before. We've always been on the phone to birds and shit like, yeah, we can see you. Good day, I've known all the cocky lads or another firm. You get there and it's a big setup.
That was Rhys Jones' dad. Well, just go into a setup and got the kid.
Right.
That was what it was when that happened, the setup.
To shoot that lad, yeah? And the bullet ricocheted and... Right.
Off there, man.
Talk to me about the police. How do the police behave in the area where you live?
Treat us like fucking bastards, basically. They just can't stand us. And they really hate us.
All right, just say you had the Home Secretary sitting in front of you and not me. What would you like to say to her in terms of change? The Home Secretary, the one that's in charge of the police force.
Tell us, please.
Yeah, fucking spit at her.
You'd spit at her?
Yeah.
But would you say anything to her?
Call us, scumbag.
Couldn't be much more to say now, because they would not even listen to a word you'd have to say, would they?
What about...
Stop picking on the kids and make the streets better, know what I mean? Does not make the streets better, know what I mean? Coming out and giving kids nothing but else, it makes them worse, doesn't it? It makes them make the police more, do more shit to them, do more shit to anyone else. Just sends them mad, all busy, he's jumping out on them constantly.
Well, last night we met some of the lads from Norris Green, aka the Nogsy crew. They certainly weren't unintelligent or without potential. That said, they still couldn't explain their murderous hatred of their counterparts in Croxteth. I wonder if the lads there will be any more enlightening.
I wanted to hear what the lads from Croxteth had to say, but first I had a very different visit to make.
I've come here to meet a special police unit that was designed specifically to tackle gang and gun crime. They target individuals who pose a direct threat to the public. They're called the Matrix.
Between May 2007 and May 2008, there were reported 48 shootings on Merseyside. 6 were fatal. Detective Chief Superintendent Steve Morris, head of the Matrix, explained the problems his men face dealing with guns on the street.
Of these 14 weapons, 7 of them are real weapons, the other 7 are imitation weapons, and I would challenge anybody in a split second to decide which is real and which is an imitation, which is intended as a child's toy and which is intended to take a life. And sometimes police officers have to make that decision within literally a split second.
This one, for instance, is a replica of a Heckler & Koch weapon. Yep. And, you know, it weighs about the same as the real thing. You know, to all intents and purposes, it is the real thing. What do you think about the people that manufacture these things and put them out and sell them?
I don't see the point. I do not see why anybody needs to produce an imitation or a toy weapon that looks like that is so realistic, because it does nothing but cause problems.
And the same about, you know, other things here. I mean, for instance, this could look like a cowboy gun, but this actually is going to kill someone, isn't it?
That is a real gun, yeah.
That is a real gun. Also, there's one weapon here on this table that is responsible for 40% of all the gun crime in this town, isn't there?
That's right, and that weapon is the shotgun. This is a sawn-off shotgun. The controls around shotguns aren't as strong as controls around other weapons.
You've had some success removing guns from the streets, as we can see here, both real and imitation. What message would you have to people out there who are considering picking up a gun and using it in Liverpool?
My message to people who think about using guns on Merseyside would be, you're not just a priority for Merseyside Police, you are the priority for Merseyside Police.
The trade that came from Liverpool's docks has always been central to the city's life. Sugar and slaves, migrants from around the world, the music that influenced the Mersey beat, and latterly, guns and drugs have all come through here. As far back as the late 19th century, the tough streets around the docks were home to legendary gangs like the Cornermen. And during the Second World War, they provided rich pickings for powerful syndicates. In this world where secrecy was prized, a prison language emerged, backslang.
Jab ale is a leg old of feigok and sheagite. Fab bunny, but stab a about.
Liverpool's criminal gangs were well placed to take advantage of the hard drugs which started arriving through the port in the 1980s, with a terrible impact on areas like Liverpool 11. And the uprising in Croxteth in 1981 had an unforeseen outcome when a softly approach to policing played into the hands of the drugs barons. The arrival of 90s club culture gave organised crime another boost, with huge profits to be made from controlling club doors and the drugs that went through them. During these years, major players made vast fortunes, and although many of them are now serving time, Merseyside was left with a legacy of drugs and violence.
I've come here to meet an ex-gangster who made his name in the 80s and 90s. His reputation for violence was so bad that he was known simply as the Devil.
In the world of crime, taxation is the violent extraction of money and/or drugs from a drug dealer. A martial arts champion and club doorman who grew up in Croxteth, Stephen French became a master taxman. Today, he's a successful businessman and anti-gun campaigner. He began by telling me about how drugs became an issue in the city in the 1980s.
An armed robbery would take place. Maybe £20,000 was stolen between 3 individuals. Those 3 individuals would make a kitty, yeah, of the £20,000, yeah? And they'd go to Holland, and for £20,000 in those times, allegedly, so I've been told, you could buy 2 kilos of cocaine. You buy those 2 kilos of cocaine and you get them into this country, yeah, they become worth £100,000.
You tell me about, or give me some examples of what a taxman would do to a drug dealer to get the money.
A case of a friend of mine, yeah? He actually did 15 years for this, no, he got 11 years for this offence. Yeah, and he bent the guy with an iron, right? Get the guy to give up his stash.
This taxing thing, how big did it become?
Money was made, Russ, money was lost. It was a frivolous time, yeah? And money was made and money was lost, and that's all I'm prepared to say about that.
Were you happy with yourself at the time?
It's very easy to fake loving somebody. It's not so easy. People can't fake fear, yeah? Now, I can remember, to my detriment and to my shame, just wanting to be feared, wanting to have that reputation, wanting people to say, there goes Frenchy, he's a bad man.
Yeah. Were people actually dealers getting firearms because they were worried about people like you taxing them? Was their way of defending themselves against someone with your physical presence?
Excellent analysis. Yeah, this is where I have to take some culpability in terms of the explosions of firearms in my own Merseyside, yeah? I don't take full responsibility, but the 10-stone weedy heroin dealer that's got 40 grand under his bed and thinks the devil's coming to get him, what's he gonna do? What's he gonna do? Because it becomes an instant equalizer.
But having been involved in the emergence of guns in the city, French quickly became a victim of them when first his best friend was killed and then his son was shot. Last year, he cooperated on a book about his life to expound his anti-gun message.
You have young men at home now, 10 years of age, that will be hitting the streets 5 years' time, 10 years' time. They have uncles that are doing life, brothers that have been murdered, fathers that are murderers. They're desensitized. They're on the verge of being dehumanized. Yeah? And if we don't, as the elders of the village, find something to harness that energy, to give them focus, direction, and purpose, mayhem's going to ensue.
But by stepping out of the shadows of the underworld, French has put himself in the spotlight.
In my own community, yeah, they took to daubing things around on the wall about me, yeah. Stephen French is a police informer. Stephen French is a grass. Stephen French is a homosexual. I've had 7 attempts on my life so far. I've had prices on my head ranging from £5,000 to £30,000, yeah. The last attempt on my life was less than 6 weeks ago, where 5 shots were fired at me.
Why are there people out there now trying to kill you?
My belief is, it's people from my past, right, that believe my anti-gun message is beginning to gather momentum. So they will give young individuals, young punks, yeah, they're like Jack Russells snapping at the heels of a Rottweiler. Yeah, and the interesting thing, Russ, yeah, and I hope that you can hear this, right, is that the temptation to revert to type, yeah, and sort out those individuals that have had the effrontery to try to take my life is the hardest thing I have to resist, because I could swat them like flies, mate. I could swat them like flies. But how can I claim to be an anti-gun campaigner and carry a gun myself?
I think Stephen French is probably right. Young men getting themselves into trouble are more likely to listen to someone like him talking about gangs and gun violence than a policeman, a politician, or even a TV presenter for that matter. But Liverpool is a city with an active rumour mill and a long memory. And the consequences for anyone thought to have broken the underworld code of silence can be very serious indeed. I wish him luck. In part 3, I meet the police trying to stop youngsters joining gangs. I'm in Liverpool trying to meet up with the Croxteth crew. But in the meantime, I have another visit to make.
We're just about to meet a young man who claims to have left a gang. He's prepared to talk about what it was like to be a gang member here. Can you tell me how you got involved in the gangs?
Just being young and stupid, and older people bullying you into it, you know what I mean? Wanting loads of money, what they've got all the time.
Give us an example of how young you were when you were approached to join a gang.
14.
You were 14 years old, yeah?
14, turning 15, still in school. They all had weed, hanging about with them to smoke their weed. And then after that, they befriend you, do you know what I mean? They're your mates, but really they're not your mates, they're just using you.
And that's how you feel now?
Yeah.
But at the time, you didn't?
At the time, it's all good. You're in a firm, and do you know what I mean? You're all together and all for one for all and all that, you know what I mean?
So, but do they sort of like manipulate you in terms of the fact they're telling you you're too young to be convicted?
Yeah, all that. Yeah, man.
You give me any examples of the things that you were asked to do?
Mind shit, you know, fucking guns, get guns, go and shoot people, anything like that.
How much are they? What? Can you give us some examples of what weapons you're talking about?
Cheap, you know what I mean? You get a shotgun for 50 quid.
A shotgun for 50 quid?
Yeah, go and blow someone's head off with it dead easy, can't you?
Have you owned guns?
Yeah.
Which you bought illegally, yeah?
Yeah.
Have you fired guns?
Not trained.
Right. And they're dealers, are people who specifically specialise in dealing in weapons, or they deal drugs as well?
Both, innit? You know, if you do drugs, you've got to have guns.
And we're talking about cannabis, or we're talking about coke?
both, off.
E?
Everything. Gary's, Beak, Bobby, Crack, you know.
So tell me why you got out.
We're into it no more, going to jail too many times.
Can you tell us how many times you've been to prison?
4.
And what kind of stretches did you do?
From years to 3s.
Really? And how old are you now?
I'm not saying.
Okay, mate, yeah. Fair enough. But let's say I can look at your eyes and I know you're not that old.
Exactly. Dangerous.
So was it difficult to get out?
Well, yeah, it is. It always is, you know what I mean? It always is. You know, if you're looking getting out, they'll be on you, won't they? They'll know that you're wanting to get out somehow or other. Take to mind something, watch you, make that something go missing so you're owed them money.
Set you up?
Yeah, basically, so then you're in debt to them forever, do you know what I mean?
And you can get seriously hurt as well?
Yeah, you get shot. Dead easy. There's loads of shootings up and that you don't hear about. Like the papers don't print them, nothing.
Have you been shot at?
Loads of times.
Loads of times? What, more than 20, less than 10?
It's loads of times, more than enough.
Really? I mean, I see you got Fuck the Matrix on the side of the vehicle.
Fuck them.
Fuck them, yeah?
Fuck them, horrible scumbags.
Have you got any respect for any of them?
None of them. None of them at all. I hate them.
So what are you going to do with yourself now, then?
Just try and stay on the straight and narrow, innit? Keep away from it all. It's hard though, you know what I mean?
Well, we've just left the young lad in the Land Rover. He was clearly very talented, quite a good driver by the display they put on for us. And he was also intelligent. He was also clearly very, very stressed about leaving the gang. He says he's continuously looking over his shoulder. And I honestly don't think there's any way for a young man to grow up.
Anyone in the room who hasn't worked Stay Safe before? Come on, don't be shy.
This is Stay Safe, an initiative between the police and social services aimed at keeping young people off the streets and away from the temptation of gang life. 40 police will patrol the streets of a particular area, picking up youngsters they feel may be in danger and bring them back here to be interviewed by a team of social workers. The scheme is the brainchild of Chief Inspector Bill McWilliam.
My first day here, I went out on patrol in an evening and saw young kids on the streets, no parents in sight. I was aware there was a potential sort of gang culture in the area, and I was really concerned that night with what we were going to do about this. And the next morning, woke up, I was having a shave, and I thought, well, when I was a constable, I came across kids at risk, and I used powers under the Children Act to actually take them into care. So I thought, well, why can't we do this in a more generalistic way?
Flooding an area with that many policemen, some people might accuse you of police harassment.
What this is about is actually bringing police officers, children's services, PCSOs. This is really what total policing is about, bringing people into an area to deal with a problem, not just here and now, but looking to the future as well. So I'd have that debate with anybody. What we're doing is both lawful, but it's also needed as well. Not just to protect young people, which is the main aim of this, but also to send out a strong message to criminals, strong message to those who want to engage in antisocial behaviour. It's not going to be tolerated, but importantly as well, a strong message to parents that we need their help, support, and for them to engage with us.
I was hoping that the Stay Safe patrol might get me closer to the Croxteth crew.
Kilo 72.
Kilo 72, thanks, Sarge. Able to assist colleagues there, please, on Stay Safe. Got a 14-year-old male under the influence. He's taken to a place of safety, his home address.
He's 14, so he's taken to a place. Is any alcohol with him, is not?
His mum don't know. As mum knows he's here, but doesn't know he's had a drink.
All right, no problem. Do you understand what's happening now? Do you want to come with us, take a seat in the van? Just come and sit in the van with us. How many drinks have you had? 3? 3 what? All right, just sit in the back with my colleague here. Oh, just take a seat right at the back there. All right, we're just going to take you to a place now of safety, take all your details down, and then take you home, contact your mum and dad. Do you understand that? All right, no problem at all.
The majority of the young people brought in by Stay Safe are between 10 and 16 years of age. Many of them have been drinking. But although Stay Safe has the power to take youngsters into care, they have yet to do so.
Mystery man. Jay. What's your J?
You got anything else that you get up to, just hang around the streets or...?
Strolling on the street.
What age are you?
17.
Okay, so do you work? Did you go to school?
Yeah.
What was that like?
Sure.
Did you actually attend or bunk off?
I did attend until I started fighting with them.
What was that over?
Clocking on the screen.
Police say that antisocial behaviour is down 21% in Stay Safe areas, and the programme is attracting national attention. Jimmy Clark is the senior social worker on the project.
It's inappropriate for a child to be walking through a park drunk. It's inappropriate for a child to be running across the road without adult authority. It's inappropriate for a child to be walking down the road with a knife and no one saying, that's stupid before you go out. But this is a low-level way of social services and the police, youth offending service saying, we care enough to say, this is inappropriate, you're unsafe, stop it. And sometimes young people don't get that instant consequence which stops them escalating the behaviour up towards antisocial behaviour, criminality and gang crime.
What about the parents who say, you know, it's my child, I'm entitled to bring it up and nurture it in the way that I see fit and it's none of your business?
One parent came to us and said, why have you picked up my 9 and 10-year-old for running across the road? And one of the police officers said, well, would you rather me turn up with your child in a box?
Many of these young boys particularly resent authority. They don't seem to have had much authority in their lives. How do you go about instilling in them some kind of respect for authority?
For those kids who escalate toward gun and gang crime, I think what you've got to look at is what is their mother and father acted as role models for. And if your mother and father is a drug or alcohol misuser, you'd never ever build up a model of adult authority being useful to you. That's why nowadays I think you see more and more violence by kids towards adults, because some of these kids have never understood what do adults bring to the table, apart from drug misuse, alcohol misuse,
abuse.
Or abuse, exactly.
Woman hold her head and cry, 'cause her son had been shot down in the street and died.
This is Grafton Street, Liverpool 8. And in the early hours of June 19th, 2004, it was the scene of a murder that shocked the city. A young lad was getting out of his car when he was shot twice at point-blank range with a sawn-off shotgun by a masked man. The boy, Liam Kelly, was just 16 years old and the youngest victim of gun crime the city had ever seen. Liam had come here over a disputed debt of just £200. A 19-year-old is serving 23 years for his murder. Another suspect has never been traced. And as ever in these cases, the repercussions go on.
Woman hold her head and cry, explaining to her was a passerby.
When Liam Kelly was buried, he left behind 4 siblings and a mother who's still grieving his loss.
Oh, Liam was boyish. He was a proper boy. He was up to all kinds, mischief.
People have said, I think, in the court case that the dispute was over £200, is that?
Yeah, it was Liam's coming up to Liam's birthday, and I do say for the kids' birthdays. And Liam asked me if he can have some of the money to go and buy clothes, so I gave him £200 out of his birthday money, not knowing he was going to lend it to Anthony Campbell. Time went on, Anthony never paid him. Apparently this court year that Campbell had come into some money. It was time for him to pay up. He weren't paying up, an argument came. Liam went out the house, to the mum's house, to front Campbell. Campbell weren't there, and out of anger, Liam walked away, picked up a bike and just flew it backwards. You know, that weren't meant to go through the window. And we're meant to, my son was killed through a bike, going through the window, you know. He was brutally killed. He was brutally killed, Liam, for a bike.
So have you had any contact with this person's family?
Not long after Liam was murdered, I come face to face with the mum. and I'm sorry I ever let her go that day. But I think next time I come face to face with that woman, I will not be held responsible for my actions, and I will not be held responsible. Another time, I got a call that she was in Netto. Not here, that auntie was in Netto, and I went to plead. Anthony Campbell's auntie.
The guy that killed your son?
Liam.
The auntie was in
Netto, and I got a call and I went to plead with her. Please tell him to plead guilty, he did kill my son. But that didn't happen. I just seen red. I had busted her and she ended up in the freezer.
What, so you headbutted her and she ended up in the freezer inside the supermarket?
She fell into the freezer.
Liam's sister drew a picture about Liam's death.
Yeah, when she was 9.
When she was 9. About what happened to Liam, isn't it,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah.
Can I have a look at it?
Yeah.
Has she talked to you much about her brother?
No, this is her expression.
She doesn't
This
talk
is how
about it
she
to you?
expresses.
You're saying you'd like to see this as a poster mirror?
Yeah, I like to be on billboards, but I know the council, Liverpool City Council, will be put on narrow because of capital culture. But the only culture we got here is gun and drug culture. We got nothing else here.
How often do you think about Liam?
Every day. I wake up in the middle of the night, Liam's on my mind. You know, I could be sitting here watching television. I'm not watching television. He's constantly there and near us. You know, so much.
In part 4, my brief meeting with the Crocky crew. During my time in Liverpool, I've been trying to get hold of the infamous Croxteth crew, one half of the city's most intense gang rivalry. Now, I'd finally got the break I'd been looking for.
You tell me what it's like living around here?
Rough.
Rough?
Yeah. Good.
Good?
Yeah, it's a little town after 10.
Like a ghost town after 10?
It's a nice society.
Why is that?
Like that house is nice. Come round, stay for a bit.
I've been to other places.
This place shit's on Afghanistan.
So I've heard. Well, how violent is it then?
Violent.
Can you give me any examples of how violent it is to live around here? Do people have guns?
Obviously. Yeah, some newspapers. Shot dead.
How easy is it to get a gun around here then?
Depends who you are. Yeah, depending.
Depending on what you're after?
Yeah.
So what, shotgun's easy to get in the same 9mm pistol?
Yeah.
But can you hire guns, yeah?
No. One of them bullshit,
That's bullshit, yeah?
Yeah, librarian. No one hires no one out to no one. Because if someone hires a gun, they're not going to get back, are they? Simple.
Right.
Get robbed for it. If you use it, you've got to buy it anyway.
You're going to buy it, yeah? To use it?
Use it.
If you guys have left school now, do you have jobs?
No.
How easy is it to get a job around here?
Not easy at all. I only got allowed in the fucking zone because it's in Norris Green.
Talking in Norris Green, what do you think about the people from there? What's the reason? Why do you feel like that about them?
It's the old rapists. Rob our women, then. He rob our women. Rob our women.
Guys, is it not true? Isn't it true that a lot of you went to the same school, yeah?
Yeah.
So you know each other by sight, yeah?
Yeah.
So what happens if one of them comes across the border, as it were?
Fucked, aren't they? Get dealt with, something.
They get dealt with?
Yeah.
How do you mean? What do you mean by that?
They're all mad. What do you think of me? They've got a name because of us. Norris Green and think it's rough. It's not because they all got shot round there. That's right. They're all scarred for life. Not one of us.
But can you tell me what's the beef about them? Is it a specific incident that made that happen?
I'm prepared to tell you.
You're not prepared to tell us?
No.
For an outsider, which I know I am, if I looked at you guys and I looked at them because of the clothes that you wear, it'd be very difficult for anyone to tell you apart.
Yes, there's no difference. There's no difference, only the way they act.
We're in America now with your red and blue bandanas.
This Jack.
At that point, the police turned up and the lads scattered. That was the last we saw of the Crocky crew.
Obviously, you've just arrived in your car and they've disappeared. Can you tell us why you turned up?
Basically, we just had a report of males acting suspiciously with balaclavas, and obviously we've been called to the scene. So we were a bit concerned. Residents were a bit concerned, so that's why we've turned up.
So someone's rung up and then...
Somebody's rung up, yeah,
Right,
and obviously
okay,
we've turned up.
Well, they've certainly left now.
OK, no problem.
Right,
cheers.
Thanks for your time.
All right.
It was time for me to head back to London.
It's the job of the Home Secretary to deal with the issue of gang and gun crime. Last year, she set up the Tackling Gangs Action Programme. I've come here to find out what effect it's having. Can you explain to me what impact the Rhys Jones case has had on government policy?
The death of any young person, any child, I think is something that I'm in this job to help to prevent happening. I think for lots of people, the death of Rhys Jones was particularly impactful. You know, the fact that a young kid can be caught up in the crossfire like that, I think, brought home to people the concern that there was about gangs and about violent crime. We had already begun working on what then turned into the Tackling Gangs Action Programme, but I think it proved to me that we needed to do something both to show that we could make a difference in tackling gang-related gun crime and to reassure people that we were able to do that. And I believe that we can, and that is what we've done.
There is a problem with young people in British society at the moment. They are becoming more violent. How are you going to get government policies over to those kids? How are you going to actually affect them and change the way they perceive the problems that exist around them?
Firstly, you're going to make sure that they understand that if they're carrying a gun or a knife, they're likely to be caught, and if there will be implications. Secondly, we need to then make sure as well that we're identifying those people who are now engaged in that sort of activity, that they're getting the visits from the police, that they understand that the police know who they are, that we'll use, as we saw in some areas, other ways of getting them and their weapons off the streets, you know, perhaps using, checking up on their benefits entitlement.
What do you do when people are not prepared to come forward and talk to the police, particularly in instances related around gangs and gang murders? For instance, there was a lot of silence around the Rhys Jones case. You know, a lot of people in the community clammed up, would not speak openly to the police.
One of the biggest things almost that impacted on me when I was talking to communities about this was quite often a real wish to do something about it,
but they're
and a real
intimidated.
fear, exactly, and a fear and an intimidation. So what do we need to do? Firstly, we need to make sure that witnesses are protected from an early stage, and then you just need a general view in the community that if you are speaking up against those who are gang members and who are terrorising your community, people will be on your side in doing it.
One thing I have noticed in my travels is if you threaten a very young person with a long prison sentence, it has little impact on them because the idea of spending 20 years in prison is totally incomprehensible to them. How do you get over to them that the fact that they're caught carrying a gun, they will be put away for a long time?
Firstly, we changed the law in order to make sure that happens. Secondly, particularly with knives, we're clear that if you're caught with a knife, you can expect to end up in court. And thirdly, I think you get people who've actually had that experience, gang members who've perhaps been in prison and come out the other end and who are willing to go and talk to young people about the reality of what it's like to be in prison. They might not listen to me, they might not even listen to you, but they may well listen to people who've gone through it and who themselves wish they'd made a different choice and perhaps can help other young people to make that different choice.
Home Secretary, thank you very much.
Thank you.
It may seem odd to finish a programme about Liverpool in London, but it's also sadly fitting. Because Liverpool's issues with guns and gangs is not unique. It's a problem that plagues London and the other major cities of the UK. The fact that firearms seem to be so freely available in such large numbers, particularly to our young, is truly terrifying. The Rhys Jones case has highlighted the growing trend for casual violence on our streets. And as the toll in wasted lives grows, There has to be a debate at a national level on how we tackle this issue. Otherwise, we all will have failed the innocent victims of this terrible problem.
One of the best action movies ever. Bruce Willis vests up tomorrow night at 9 for Die Hard. See the action in awesome HD on Channel 170. Next tonight, the best goals and best bloopers from the football pitch, where sometimes it's easy to forget it's only a game.